Welcome again, viewers, to another episode of Conversation with Giants. Today, we're going to be having a very interesting conversation. Our topic today is Father in Faith. We're going to be having a conversation with a great man, a medical practitioner, and also a religious leader in our community. Allow me to introduce to you Dr. Pastor Olubayode Awosika, who is also my father. And we're going to be having a lot of in-depth conversation today about fatherhood and pastoring within our community and how to mix the both. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Being part of this show.
Nice to be here. I'm Dr. Pastor Olubayode Awosika. A medical doctor. I became a medical doctor 48 years ago. And by divine providence, I never thought about becoming a pastor. But somehow along the line, I became a pastor about 30 years ago. And it's been such a wonderful journey. And I'm grateful to God that I am a pastor and also a medical doctor, because the two actually works together. So I'm here today, and I'm just excited to be here. I've been in practice and for 48 years now, and still very much in practice. So I have a combination of being a medical doctor and also being a pastor. Presently, I was a senior pastor of a big church in the country, and presently I'm a visionary in a church that God gave me the grace to start, Jesus Watches as Apostolic Mission. So that is what I am doing as of now. So I'm grateful to be here, and I know it's going to be an exciting time talking to my son about some of the questions that will be coming up. Thank you.
So we'd like to talk a little bit about fatherhood in the modern day generation compared to in your time. You obviously became a father over 47 years ago. And me, I'm also a young father. But I can see a clear difference in our society today in fatherhood. What shapes becoming a good father? What decisions would a bachelor, a young man, need to make before he decides that he wants to become a father? And what kind of responsibilities come with being a father?
Sincerely, I don't think it's not a joke being a father. You have to make up your mind you want to be a father. Anybody can produce children, but not too many people can be a father. I think what has affected my own role as a father is where I was coming from, because obviously in the days of my own father, it was more of a polygamous family. So children are just born by various women, and there is a responsibility of the women to take care of their children. And that affected me in a way, and I made up my mind that I was going to be a father to my children. So it is a decision. It is not something you just jump into. It was a decision that I wanted to be a father to my children, and secondly, it was also a decision that I was going to be a father early, because obviously I had made up my mind that at the age of 28, before I was 30, I wanted to be married, and God allowed me to do that. And I had my first child when I was about 29, which was less than 30. And you see, so the first thing is you need to be determined you want to be a father. And and a lot of responsibilities are attached to fatherhood. Fatherhood is being part of everything concerning the child, which is what once when my children were born, I took part in bathing them, taking care of them, changing the nappies, in feeding them, in putting them to sleep, and all of that. And in the process, I developed the bond between them, between us, and that has shaped our relationship ever since. So I was a busy person. I was having my practice. In my early days as a medical doctor, actually, I was commissioned to the Nigerian Army. There are a few times I have to be away from the children because of the nature of my work. But I think every weekend, whatever, nothing holds me back in my station. I wanted to be back to be with the children. It wasn't attacking what yours. It's just there, So I saw them as a gift to me from God, and that it's my responsibility to take care of them. So I was always coming back to make sure I be with the children. So and it comes from the determination. I think today what is going on is that the young fathers get too busy, doing other things, and they just thought, come, my own is maybe probably provide for the house. And how to take care of the children is responsibility of the women, and that is absolutely wrong, because it is the responsibility of everyone to take care of these children. The women, they carry the babies for 9 months. That is enough responsibility, and they give back to the child. So it should be a joint effort, So you, like I just said in the beginning, you have to determine to be a father. It's just it's not just father the child, and it doesn't end there. You have to be a father because there's more to being fatherhood than just making the woman pregnant. So I think that is the thing. So if it will help. Why our own time was not as busy as this? Yes, so I appreciate the issues of these young fathers. But if you are determined to do it, you will have the grace will be released for you to do it. But if you think it's not my business, I might just provide money for them, and that's why I provide money, make them comfortable, I have a good house and all of that. That is not fatherhood. Fatherhood, you could be a father, and if the father is not there, I can tell you, the house is empty. Because everyone has his own role. The woman has his own role, and the man has his own role. And again, God has ordained a role for the man. We're supposed to provide, and the provision is not just physical. There is both spiritual and emotional provision. Because the Bible said a man that cannot provide for his family is more than an infidel. So obviously, maybe I stop there. It's a choice. You need to make a choice, and this is what I believe a lot of these young ones have to do. And if you can do that, then we have great fathers. We have too many of absentee fathers now, and it's creating so much problem in the society. So I believe that overall shaped my relationship with my children, and ever since the relationship still very much on, because they're grown up now, so we've been from being fathers, we've been like friends, because we talk to ourselves as if we are mates.
A couple of things that I picked up there was fathers that are absentee, especially in our generation today. We find a lot of men that are focused majorly on the financial contribution, the financial part of being a father. But just looking through history and in your generation, men were just giving birth to kids like it was a joke. And I think our generation have decided to pick the not so good parts of what our grandfathers did, having multiple women, having kids with multiple women, and just bringing people to this world and not really parenting them. What would you say, in your own opinion, prepares you to be a responsible father? Someone that will be there, not just financially, but also someone that will be there to raise the kids and also to make the appropriate contributions to the home?
Thank you very much for this question. You see, like I said, when you know where you're coming from and the experience you have gone through, I never really experienced the fatherhood I wanted. I can say my father was a loving person, but I think he was choked up with too much of responsibility as he got to himself. Too many, so many women and so many children. So obviously, I was with my mother at the early stage of my life. I also wanted this thing of being with my father, but it was never there. And unfortunately, he didn't stay long. Maybe probably if he has lived longer, maybe probably should have made up for the time he was not there. So from that experience, I just made up my mind that mine must be different. That must be different. I think that was my decision, that I have to be different. And I know that there are people of my age that went through the same issue and they decided to come. I know how my father treated me, so why should I bother to treat any other child different? But I was not going to take that path. I just thought that probably maybe it was not the man's fault, that he didn't know better and all of that. And so I think that is what shaped my decision, that I really need to be there for my children. I needed to play my role as a father. And I think that's basically answered the question, that because, when you didn't have it right, then you don't want to reoccur. You don't want to be a generational thing that, so it's just that runs in the family. Because basically you find that most fathers that are not there today is as a result of their father was never there. I heard their father was never there. Then why should I be different? But I decided I wanted to be different because I know that there's a role for a father and the father. So because I know that, I just thought I needed to change the narrative. That it's not something that is responsible if the fathers are not there. So I think that's what.
The world has really, really evolved from 60, 70, 80 years ago. Right now, things are very fast moving, very competitive. We're in the internet age, as they call it. So everybody is constantly on the move. What is the best way will you advise this generation in how to balance being a father and work? Because you can't really decide to ignore one and do the other. Because if you decide that you want to just be a father and be at home, there'll be nothing for children to eat. And if you decide that you just want to work and not pay any attention. So I know growing up, you did a very good job in doing that. I remember you coming to our school every time you had to, picking us up from school, being involved in assessments, PTA, graduation ceremony, sports day, etc. What would you say the best way is, considering the times have changed and everything is so fast moving now, and sometimes people can even work multiple jobs. There are some people that are doing 2, 3 jobs, some online, some physical jobs, all in an attempt to try and meet up with some of the obligations. What would be the best way for this generation to try and balance work and fatherhood?
Thank you. That's important. Yes, we're in a fast-moving generation. But again, the beauty of the fast-moving generation is that, communication had improved a lot. Communication had improved a lot. In our days, there were nothing like mobile phone. I remember when we were in England, once I come home to do something, to do one thing or the other for the family, the first thing I do once I come in is to go to night out, to go and see how I can communicate, because I want to know what is going on with you and the family over there. So it was tough, because they give you 3 minutes and the 3 minutes is off. And, some of these things, many of you, when we say it now, it's as if it never existed. But you see, today, the telephone is there. In our busy schedule, because obviously there has to be a balance. In our busy schedule, a man that wants to be a father, we always think, oh, I've not spoken to these children. How are they doing? 2 minutes on the mobile telephone. How are you doing? How was school today? And all of that.
Even a video call.
Even now, it's got it better now. You even have a video call. But at one time, it's all this telephone you drive. There, and they say you can't communicate, you can't carry the telephone, you can't do anything. So most times you have to be there physically. So I think that is where the balance is. A man that wants to be a father, you have all the gadgets. You can always make a call. Maybe first thing in the morning before the children goes to school, maybe probably when they come back, how was school today, and the children also, they are excited when they listen to daddy has called, and they just those 2 seconds, it's as if you are there. It's as if you are there. Because, and I think the children also appreciate the fact that, the lifestyle has changed. The man had to provide and all of that. You cannot provide by just sitting in the house and looking at each other's faces. So I think the children of today, I see my grandchildren, for example, they are quite smart. They are smart, so they understand what is going on. But to see an absentee father, even in this generation, is the one that will never remember to even call the children. Which you can just do wherever you are. So you give them a call, and maybe probably where their mommy is the one that is praying with them at night or that, you are going to, you can always call, maybe the last night before, how are you doing? Are you okay today? And all of that. It does not take 2 minutes. It doesn't take 2 minutes is too long. 1 minute, you've done it, and they go to bed hearing that daddy has spoken to them. So those are the things that make the changes. So you can get the balance when you are not there physically, but emotionally you are still connected to them. Because with fasting, there are provisions that is there. Your telephone is in your pocket, everything is there, and anywhere you are in the world, you can always communicate. Like you said, even the Zoom, they see your face and all of that. So I think with the fast life, the development has been such that they have also created a way of communicating. So I think that we have.
I think I completely agree with Daddy when he says it's a requirement. We find time during the day, a few times during the day, and possibly at night if you can, to speak to the kids, communicate with them via video calls. These days, voice notes. So I completely agree. It's necessary. I want to touch on a very interesting topic around kids. Is it true that there's always a favorite child inside you? I know sometimes people have 2, 3, 4, 5 children, but there's always one. Sometimes they say it's the first, sometimes they say it's the last, sometimes they say it's the middle. It doesn't really matter the number, but as a parent, in your generation, was it common to find that there's always one particular child that's like the golden egg, and how do you try and make sure it's not obvious as a parent that okay, you're quite fond of this person?
Obviously, I think the issue of favorite child is not, to me, it's not an obvious thing. At times, children are different. There are ways by which children relate to parents. And their relationship at times build up some special connection. I have, among my children, for example, you see, if you have somebody who is always wanting to check how you are doing, how is it going with you? Or maybe probably somebody who is ever willing, a child who is ever willing to be of help in his or her little way. You see, why it is not intentional of say, come, this is favorite.
It's natural.
You just see naturally that, you see, the whole thing is building up because obviously that child spends a longer time wanting to, it just cares. So most parents, you see, and it's not even, I don't know whether it is biblical or whatever, to say there's one favorite child. You can find that, you just have that there's relationship. There could be a deeper relationship with a child. And when there's that deeper relationship, it could be misconstrued as if that is the favorite. Because it's the one that want to listen, is the one that want to help, is the one that want to do whatever they can at any particular time. It's something I look forward to every weekend, Sunday, particularly for my grandchildren to come to the house. And this particular day, they came, and I was alone in the house. And after all the excitement, as soon as they came, one of them said, "Grandpa, are you are alone in the house?" I said, "Yes." You see, he didn't say more than that, but basically it meant so much.
Yeah.
So come, you are alone. As a father, it touches, as a grandfather, it touches somewhere in you. So if tomorrow you become too caring about that child, because the people can be labeled, his favorite. So you see, it's something a child builds up. Gone are the days, where fathers love children because of the mother or whatever give back to them. It's a relationship. It's a relationship. So, when I was growing up, for example, my mother just felt I was an emotional person. If she's sick, I make sure she takes drugs, and I just leave to go and play football. So, and according to her, it's like I don't care, But over the years, I think she was closest to me from all the children, because over the years we built up a relationship. My own was that I give you medicine, take your medicine, and let me do my own thing. But the other child, we give medicine and sit down, because I didn't say why I should go and sit down when they are taking medicine, So you see, that is the way it happens. So this issue of, it's not an intentional thing really. It's just that the way a child gravitates to you would bring that closeness, and then it could be seen. And again, you see, children, the way the children also relate. We're talking about this favorite thing. They want a demand. Maybe they want a demand from the parents. A child can come and see that demand as a right. And it just comes, I want. Then it's different. Another child comes and this committee made the demand. They say, Dad, how are you doing? No. So have you eaten? Whether I've eaten or not is not his or her problem. Have you eaten? How are you doing? Are you okay? Everything's okay. And gradually build up a relationship, and then throw in the question. And obviously, because he has come, he has softened the ground, he has softened you up, it will be difficult to say no. But if another child comes who says, I want, and you say no, then you say, you see, the problem is that, because that one is a favorite now, that's why we answer. So, it's a relationship, it's a relationship thing. It's a relationship thing. It's not intentional. And that is why, again, it points to the fact why fathers must have a relationship with their children, and be able to identify their person, because every child is different. Every child is different. So when you look at them, you look at the way they do things, you just find that you will come to appreciate every one of them, for whom they are. So by making one obviously a favorite will not be an issue, because they all have their different styles. And so I think that is what it is.
I completely agree. It's about relationship. And that's life. Life is about building relationship with people. It's not any different between parents and children. The more concerned, the more involved you are with your parents. They always say, there's a saying that when a child is growing up, the parents are taking care of the child, and when the child is grown, the child begins to take care of the parents. So I think you're completely right. But in our generation, I don't know if it's the same in your own generation. Is there a difference between a boy child and a girl child? And should it matter if you have all girls, all boys? There's this big debate, especially in Nigeria, certain tribes. If there's no particular gender, some men might even end up leaving the marriage. So what is the main, what is the issue? What is the main concern? What is the idea behind having a male child, a female child? Should it matter which one?
Thank you very much. I think these are very fundamental questions you are asking, and I believe that hopefully that this way they will help to mold some people, because obviously a child is a gift from God, and I believe that every gift from God is a perfect gift. You see, I have never thought about sex of a child. It's never crossed my mind. I remember when I had the first child, turned out to be a girl. My excitement is that me too have produced a child. And then the second child was a boy. How it happened, I don't know. Then we carried on, and now you have two, but that time we try to just at least flow a bit. The third one was a girl. And then the fourth one, that was the last, was a boy. And quite a bit of my friends were asking me, how did it happen? I said, I don't know, because obviously it never really crossed my mind, the sex of the children. I know God will give you something that will make you happy, but it was never really my idea. It was not. In my own family, from my own mother's side, we had, the first child was a woman, a girl. I came as the second one. Then the next one was a boy. And then the last one was a boy. So my mom actually had a girl and 3 boys. But in my own, it was one after the other, which was something beautiful. But the truth of the matter is that I did not ask for it. To me, any child I'm giving is just a gift, and I just love them the way they are. But unfortunately, you see, the whole idea of boys. What is the basis behind that?
People say it's to keep the family name.
Yes, that's it. I understand. Just the whole idea of the lineage. They just feel, okay, you need a boy to continue to keep the lineage. Lineage will be kept by boys that are responsible. You have a bunch of irresponsible boys or whatever, you will not want them to bear your name. So you see, the thing here is this. It's good to have both sex. I don't have any problem about that. But to specifically require, you see, it's not even the lineage alone. See, people just think women is as if they don't have value. Oh, it's another woman. It's as if women don't have value. And you see, and sincerely, these days you have seen that a lot of women have done some great things in our society. I have such even within my own family. So the whole idea is just something that is not right. But like you say, even our tradition, our tradition, some of our tradition is even crazy. Do you know that there is a particular tradition in Nigeria? If a woman is married to a man and has all girls, when that woman dies, he take his body to go and bury in his father's house. It's primitive, it is wicked, and it does not make sense. So you could imagine the attachment to this type of sex thing. I don't, at times, unfortunately, when the tradition has made it that bad, that is as if a woman, or you have a girl, you have a boy in the house, then you have not established yourself. That's what you have not established yourself in the house. And I think it is absolute nonsense. It is something that we must not, it's not something that you actually, we should dwell on. I have always said as a man, and I preach, even as in the church, I tell my boys or my male that come, it's nice to have boys, but you see, you better pray to try to have some little girl, because I have always seen that at the end of the day, as a man, the person that the men are busy, it's not as if they don't care, but that emotional attachment is the female in the house that will have that emotional attachment to the father. You see, and science has even proven it. You find that most times men gravitate towards their mothers, and women gravitate towards their fathers. So you find that. So that is why it is so interesting for one to have both sex. Because the men will always do their thing once they get to a stage, they get married, they have their responsibilities and all of that. They have to carry out their responsibilities. But in spite of all of that, the women, somehow, somewhere, it does not matter whether the father is a perfect father or the perfect father, somewhere along the line, they always have a link towards their father. They want to do something for their father, whereas the men, they can just keep the man at bay. It doesn't make any difference. So the whole idea of sex, lineage, that's what they are saying, but these days there are some great women. I was on television a few days ago, and there's a man, a lawyer in Nigeria. He had just a daughter who is in England, is an obstetrician, and was talking. But there's no way you talk about that person without making reference to whom the father is. So it's not just bearing a name. You can bear a name and you bear a name wrongly. And what I mean wrongly, if you are not doing the thing that is right. So you see, we should put value on the children, whatever sex. Because we cannot create anything. We can't create a hair from a child. When talk of creating the child, it's created the creation of God, and they are perfect creation.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with Daddy when he says there's really there shouldn't be any kind of preference for whether having a boy or a girl. I think, kids are a blessing from God, but I'll also take the subtle advice on it's important to have a girl at the end of the day. Some of us still have work to do. So, I want to move to, in terms of kids. Kids go through a lifespan of different phases, and sometimes it's not so great. They're in a phase where sometimes they can be stubborn. They're in a phase where sometimes they're not doing well in school. They can be in a phase where sometimes post-school they're just not doing well in life. Is there any point that a father or parents should give up on the child?
Not at all. There is no...
Even when the person is a drug addict and is...
Whatever the situation is, you can give up.
Because we hear stories of fathers disowning children. Is there ever a point where you draw the line and say, I'm done with this child?
There shouldn't be. You see, the thing here is that the child can decide to disown a son or whoever, or a child. If the father is honest with himself, how was the foundation? A child don't become a drug addict overnight. Were you there at the formative age? If you were not there, you don't know the child. You don't know the emotional trauma he's going through. You don't know anything. So you see, how much are you really a friend to your child? Because, you might say, these children also go through some emotional trauma. There are certain things that is not going on well.
That they see.
But unfortunately, there is nobody to discuss. They can't discuss with their friends, because if they discuss with their friends, they end up being a drug addict, because that's the way out. That's an escape route. The father that should sit down and discuss with them is not there. So you see, listen, a child is in school, for example, and is being bullied, and the father is not there to say, come, what is going on? I say, come, Daddy, I don't think this is cool. And then gradually he himself turned to a terror, because you see, you start from when you are being bullied, you gradually develop and you become a bully yourself.
You convert to being
because now you become
a survivor now.
A survivor now. It's a gradual process. You see, unfortunately, parents, they just give up. You cannot give up on God's creation, on a child, because you need to look at yourself. What has been my role in the life of this children, or this child particularly? You remember the time we went to holidays in Houston?
Yeah.
And we went to a church. And the story in that church was that, very big church, and, my son was attracted to the man because of his appearance, the type of wristwatch and all of that. The man there was a
helicopter.
He had the helicopter and all of that. But there was a story behind that. The man was just a Baptist pastor who was not doing well. He started in his church. The church was doing well. Then it was not doing well. Then he decided to now start taking care of what they call drug addicts. And there was the son of a very rich man in Houston, one of the richest men in Houston, who had become a drug addict, who was living...
It was an oil guy.
Oil guy, yes. He was living under the bridge.
His son had disappeared.
And then this man went and witnessed to this boy. And the boy got converted and came to church.
And he took him in.
And the boy became an usher. So one day, the father's friend came to the church and saw the boy. He was not too sure, is it the same boy? And then I whispered to the father. It's like the prodigal son issue. The man came in, and that was what transformed the church.
He came to the church
to
look for the boy.
When he saw his son, he embraced him and all of that. And the man said, come, this church, whatever thing that is called money that you need, I am ready to finance it. That's what changed the whole face of the church. And the man that day, will now go in the helicopter for church, he will go and play to different. We saw that the father did not give up. Somewhere along the line, he himself must have realized that he didn't do too well. You can become so rich, and it's all the data we are talking about. You become so rich, and you are not there.
Yeah. It's pointless.
And then you see, because a child that is not taken care at home, we have friends to train them outside. And the friends that train them outside is not going to give them the right decision. Particularly, and let me tell you some of these things, at times we don't know it. A child from a very wealthy home means a child from a poor home who has been envying this boy in the position. You think that it will be happy to see the boy succeed? No,
They won't lead him the right.
they won't lead him right.
Absolutely not.
Well, this is you have joined us, so let's destroy you. So you see, the fault is not just the boy. It's not just the son. There is a foundational issue. There's a foundational failure that the parents must own up to, so that whatever you need to do, you will do to get back to that child back on street. And you find that most of these people, when they change, man, it's like this example we gave, is going to be so fantastic. So you cannot give up any charge.
I completely agree with Daddy, because I even remember in my own days when I was in secondary school, this particular secondary school, for the sake of the school's credibility, I will not name it, but I was there for a very, very short period because of bullying. And I remember I would come home just a sad person, right? And, of course, I'll be asked questions, and what bullying does, it makes you mute. You're so scared that you don't even want to speak. And I think, Daddy immediately, got wind of the situation, tried to extract a little bit from me, and he made a decision that I was leaving the school. I wasn't going to stay there anymore. And I think, it was actually, perfect timing, because it was now a situation of, okay, let these seniors leave. We become seniors. Those guys that are behind us, they are going to see hell. Because we're being groomed to be animals. And I was taken out of the school, and I think so the point I'm making is, if you don't pay attention, right, you end up creating, you end up allowing these kids, become, how they end up. So I think that is completely right about that. It's really about paying attention to the kids, and never giving up. And I think our generation, who tend to be very, very, I would say, I'll use the word very, very impatient. Need to learn from this idea of, not giving up, and always trying to make sure you look at the history to see how you can make some of those corrections. I'll just go straight into some. What are the things you think, few proud moments as a father? What are the things that make you proud the most? I know, of course, there are a few landmark moments in a father's life that is naturally very proud, when the kids are getting married, when they graduate from school. But what would you say are the things that really, outside of some of those major ones, that make you proud as a father?
Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, you want to see your children succeed, and I think that is one area that will make any father very proud. And the landmark, seeing them, you just mentioned them, is cool, identify themselves. You see your little boy of yesterday or little girl of yesterday now can, even while he's in school, can stand up and I'll talk to you as not just as a child, but talk to you like somebody who a responsible, like a little girl or a little lady or a little man in him, so in her. So that those are very important, landmarks, because in the life of any child, you see, because you start from primary and all of that, the secondary school, And at times you think, maybe this one is weak in days, and suddenly you see that same person totally transformed and just becoming totally different. I remember I wasn't too sure how the exam was going to be. I said, "Come, but you see, why don't you just wait and repeat this exam and all of that?" And that son, that the child said that I'm here for this. I'm not going back. And it's, it's not your graduation. We're talking about secondary school and different steps in secondary school. Making up the mind that, come, this is what I came to this place for. So whatever it is, if I'm not getting it, then I better go back to where I came from. It looks little, but it made a lot of difference. You see, it just shows that, come, this is somebody, a young person that knows what he or she wants and will be ready to just damn the consequences because this is what I want to do. And obviously, I thank God for that because that made a lot of difference. And that had been a landmark of taking certain decisions that there has not been any cause for regrets. So, when you see, when you as parents thought, oh, this is the thing we think is best for the child. I said, no, Daddy, I think this is what I want. And that what you want turned out to be what is actually the right thing to do. I think that's something that should make any child very proud. So that is one way. And then when you look at, then when you start having these changes, okay, they graduate from school and all of that, these are major things. And then after graduation, every child, every parent wants children to get settled, and it's like following my footsteps because, you see, I graduated medical school in June of 1977. And I made up my mind I was going to get married. And no one was going to change it. And it's not as if I have anybody that was going to sponsor any marriage for me, but I made up my mind I was going to marry. I was going to get married. And by the grace of God, if some of my friends thought I was crazy, because a young doctor, you have all the things you do, you can just go and have your fun and all of that, but my mind was made up. So and by December of that same year, 6 months after, I was married. And in December is going to be also 48 years of marriage. So you see, when I see the such trend happening in the life of my children, because you do, and it makes a lot of difference. I know some of them that even when they get married, that influence all their friends. Say, but I'm not going to be left here, or let me go and marry too. So you see, and I think to me, it's like what God did in my life because I made up my mind. And the whole idea with my own situation was that I said, come. It's so funny that when I'm 50, I want my children to be above. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people because it's not practical. It doesn't look practicable, but it happened. And by the time I'm 50, maybe probably I want my children to be 20-something and all of that. And it worked like that way. I don't know how it did, but I don't know. But God made it possible because that's what I wanted. So those landmarks are important. But where you see children taking certain decisions that you never thought they can take, and those decisions turn out to be right, is a major landmark that any father or any mother should be proud of.
I completely agree. There's a saying that it's not what you leave for your children, it's what you leave in them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think in our generation today, There are a lot of misplaced priorities. People are more interested in how to build wealth for inheritance and not focusing majorly on what they're going to leave inside their kids that would really impact them. So I think when kids are making and children are making decisions that make parents proud is majorly because of what the parents have left in them that's allowed them to make some of those decisions. So I completely agree. I want to move a little bit and talk a little bit about faith. Today we're blessed and privileged to have a father, a doctor, a professional, and also a pastor. We're going to be speaking a little bit about faith now. The church, in this case, the church is a very, very, very massive and important institution in our society, in our culture, religion in general, but in this case, Christianity. It's at the center of everything that we do. We grew up as Christians with biblical principles, but I would say, from my own recollection, growing up as a young Christian and in the adult age now, I would say that there's been a tremendous shift in the style, way, and manner in terms of how the different versions of Christianity and how people perceive it, followership, leadership. So I wanted to speak a little bit about your perspective on the church. Church today in Nigeria, within our societies. How would you evaluate the church today versus the church when in your own day when you were growing up?
Yes, thank you very much. A lot of things had happened. Yeah, I'm a pastor, like you said, rightly said. But the last thing I ever wanted to be was to be a pastor. My being a pastor was not intentional in any way, because obviously I love to serve anywhere I am. I just want to serve. I just love serving God. And that was my whole purpose of church. I want to make a difference, but not from the pulpit, not to be called a pastor. That is why I never had the idea of going to Bible school or one of those things or being attached to. I just want to serve. But again, when God has a purpose for your life, there's something you can do about it. By chance, I became a pastor. If I go back a bit, when I was growing up, I grew up as an Anglican person. Again, some of my younger age, I was with my grandmother, who was a very strong person in the Anglican communion. And this old woman will wake us up at 5 a.m. to go to church. Can you imagine a child? 5 a.m. we go to church. And we had no choice. And what do we go to church to do? Go and pray. Yeah, I don't know how I get to church, whether I was sleeping or waking up, but I think I know I get to church. And then we get to church with another bit of some sleeping. And then the last thing I will hear is amen. When they say amen, I stand up, I follow her home. So that is how church was. But there was a lot of discipline, because it was Anglican communion. There were a lot of discipline. All these things were not there. And by the way, I grew up in the Anglican school. A lot of discipline again in the Anglican communion. We went to Anglican school. I was involved in the school. I got to the level of being the senior prefect and all of that. I taught in the school. So I was deep in the Anglican communion. And then somehow in my university days, I got myself into the Pentecostal. And I'm talking about the early 70s, 70, 71. Pentecostal as of that time was not what we have today. It was sober. Things were just, it was sober, disciplined. And where we were in England, people were growing up. Tola himself was a child. We were in another church in England. I don't want to mention the name. Another very sober Pentecostal church. And then we came back to Nigeria. And naturally, the inclination was to go to a Pentecostal church because that's where we had been attending. And we ended up in the church where I was made a pastor. And a lot of things started happening. Today, I think, I don't know, a lot of people are in ministry for one reason or the other. Sincerely, I don't, as a servant of God, I'm not here to, I don't want to talk about ministries, but I think we somehow along the line, the whole idea of Pentecostal thing has become more of a business venture. Will become more of a business venture, and it's becoming even more obvious from the younger generation. That's not to say that they don't preach the word and all of that. They say preach the word, but you see, there's too much of commercialization in the churches today. I think that is my concern about it, and commercialization and too much of, I would say, show,
Glam.
too much of glamour. You know, the seriousness of being in the church. I love dancing and all of that, but the seriousness of being in the church is losing. We are losing it, and unfortunately, a lot of these young people are attracted to those places. And sincerely, I don't know whether it is making any difference in their lives. I don't know. The seriousness about church now is, I don't know, obviously it's based on crowd, how many people do we have there, and all of that. And they say it's like in the days of Christ, when the multitude comes, but they are the disciples. The multitude will come for miracles, they will come, when there is food, they will come for food. But how many of them really that's why he said, many will say, we were this, we were that, but I will say, I don't know you. So that is the problem we are having in the Pentecostalism these days. And you see, sincerely, when I was a senior pastor of a ministry, and a lot did happen in the ministry. I had always said in my mind that if by any chance I leave the ministry for anything, that I was going back to the Anglican Church. That I was not going to be part of this thing anymore. But again, you can see God has his own plans. So where God says, you are having the ministry and the marketplace and all of that, because obviously what has always been is that how much impact is church making in the life of those people outside there? A lot of Christians actually live dual life. You're a saint in church, but you are worse than demon outside there. So you see, and we need to get to a stage. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with making money, because if the whole world belongs to our God, why would they make money? We should be able to make so much money. But to see the glamour has overshadowed everything, and again, I know that this is not very popular among the younger ones. They just can't cope with long churches anymore. They cannot. The microwave thing, if you spend 1 hour, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 30 minutes, you are out. the patience, the span of patience is gone because you don't want to get out of church. And you look at it, when you get out of church, where do you go? Go and start your own lifestyle again. So we started from Anglican church. Even the Pentecostal is affecting even the Orthodox churches now. But I think we need to, there's a lot of work to be done. I just pray that, the whole thing it says here is that it's not about church now, it's about what's your relationship with God. Once you get a relationship with God right, then whatever church you are doesn't make any difference. You know whom you are in God. Once you know whom you are in God, then there will be a lot of difference. But you see, the way we are going, my prayer is that because there's this cutthroat competition. When this one does this one wants to do it, that one does that. Oh, look, everybody wants to do whatever they want to do. So people are doing all sorts of things. And is this helping us? I mean, they're a bit passionate about church, but I just believe that God will help us because the ultimate in life is you can make all the money, but what does it profit a man if he goes the whole world and lose his soul? So God will help us. I think that is just it. So you can find a good person. It might not be that great Christian church person, but deep inside that person, he had a relationship with God. And that's what matters. And that should also reflect in that person's life and in his family.
A pastor, a bishop, a reverend is meant to be a representation of the body of Christ.
Yes.
It's a symbol. The danger today is those people are meant to are looked up to by this generation as mentors, guardians, spiritual fathers.
Yes.
And the people in our generation and the generation to come are wanting to emulate these people. And for me, I think it now begins to build a false perspective of Christianity. Growing up, this is not what we saw. Right now, it's a lot of flash. There's a lot of transactional type of relationships that go on in churches. And ultimately, it's going to affect people's perspective. What would be your advice to a Christian who just wants to find some certain level of solemnness and relationship, just have his own relationship with God, a genuine one? What would you advise them as far as selecting a Christian mentor, selecting a church, and being involved? Because there are two different things. We find that, you want to get involved in activities of the church, and the church draws you in, and you're putting your all in, you're putting your time, you're putting your finances, and then you almost become like some, I don't want to use the word, but some kind of springboard for the church to just keep you using to jump from one level to the other, and it doesn't end.
Yeah.
And because of that religious tie, you don't want to be seen as disobedient. What would be your advice for a young person, maybe a young businessman who has made some money and just wants to find his own peaceful time with God in a religious environment? But what would be the best advice you can give that kind of person?
Thank you very much, son. I think this is important. Paul, the greatest of all apostles, he said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." You see, these pastors, apostles, primates, whatever names we give to ourselves, they are human beings. They're not God. And every human person has the weaknesses. Paul was the greatest of all the apostles. He said, follow me as I follow Christ. Our example is Christ. It's not you can be archbishop, you can know the whole of the Bible, you can know everything. Unfortunately, the people know so much of Bible now, they manipulate the Bible to suit their purpose. But you see, the thing here is that how do you, as a young person, how do you know Christ? You know Christ through the Word, through His Word. Spending your own time studying Christ as written in the Bible, which is the encyclopedia of, it doesn't matter what anybody, you could be a motivational pastor, you could be anything, you can call yourself anything, you can speak all the English. But what does the Bible say? The problem of most of the young rich people is that they don't even have time for the Word. And the Christ Himself is the Word. So you see, you find that when you want to know Him, and you see, you need to be intentional in your mind that I want to study. That doesn't stop you from having a link with a church. Because we have to be in fellowship. You go to a church where you feel you are comfortable with. But you see, no pastor, it doesn't matter how big that pastor is, should not be the mirror to whom you see God. No. And because that is the mistake a lot of people are making today. You know, you can help church, you can do whatever. I was in a church where God said they were going to do something, and I got one of the only thing I have that is of substance. I sold it because I wanted to give to the church. I didn't have regret about it. I did it, and I believe that God paid me back. But the thing here is that how much of Christ do these young people know? The make it intentional to find time to study the Word. It is not. I'm talking about you sit down. You decided to just go and look for a book, because I said it again. Paul says, "Follow me, as I follow Christ." Christ is our example. Because what happens is that if in this situation, what will Christ do? I'm a pastor, for example. It's not, if there is a situation, it's not necessarily what will daddy do as a pastor. It is what will Christ do. What I do must align with what Christ will do. If it does not align with Christ, what Christ will do, then something is wrong. That is where we are missing it. Many of these young people are taking the position of God, and many of these young ones, because people get so busy, one, you cannot spend too long time in church. You don't even have a quiet time where you can spend somewhere quietly and say, okay, I'm reading the book of whatever. Let me even know about this God self. So you are building up yourself. So those are the things, and some of these churches, obviously, somehow they are putting themselves, you see a young believer, he moves forward, somehow along the line is dragged towards the pastor. So that is what it is. An individual, you must know Christ in your own terms. There are certain things you do, for example. God is asking you to do it, you do it. So you must know God in your own terms And then, so when you go to church, when somebody is preaching about something, because you know a bit of God, not as much as well the pastor, because the pastor does his job, they become a bit of a conflict in your spirit. Then suddenly you find it difficult to just want to carry along. And then what happens, that drags you back to the Bible. Because the Bible is the thing, not anyone. We can give ourselves whatever title, but the Bible is the main thing. So one, spending time with God in your own time, in prayers, in reading the Word, and you know God more. That is basically what it is. And in that case, then no pastor can come with any gimmick, and you fall into it, because any strategy. Maybe I won't say gimmick, maybe any strategy. Which could be nice, but you see, because if you don't build up your own foundation to get a certain level, then you fall into whatever strategy anybody brings. So I think that's what it is.
In your three decades, over 30 years of being a religious leader, a pastor, can you share one of the toughest decision you had to make as a pastor? Any example, any reference to a tough decision that you had to make as a pastor?
I think, like I said, one, it was not intentional to be a pastor. It was not part of my plans to be a pastor. I became a pastor. I was not just a pastor. I became a senior pastor. Even when I became a senior pastor, some people who were there didn't really believe, they didn't think I was fit to be a senior pastor, because obviously they think they know the Bible more than myself. But to see, God does not use a person who thinks is prepared. He uses people who God wants to prepare. And we carried on. We were doing our best. One, when my GO died, after the first 3 years, I thought my time was up. I had to leave, because of certain things that were happening. But I knew I had God. God said, "You are not going." I stayed back. Certain things happened in my life that you were aware. I came back from England. I made up my mind on England. I said, now, this is the end. I must leave. God said, "No. I'll not go anywhere." God brought you to this place for a purpose. Can you see how the church is now? You have a role to play. It was tough, because I'm proud to say that our church, the church we were in, there was the first air-conditioned church in Nigeria. And when it was being made air-conditioned, there was nothing church members in Nigeria did not say. "Oh, you see, this big church, are they going to sleep there? Won't they sleep?" There was no type of criticism we did not have. Thank God, Papa said, "No, this is what God told me, that he's going to do it." But unfortunately, the man died, and area condition, nothing was working anymore. Everything broke down. And at that time, I said I was going to leave. God told me, "You're not going anywhere. We must find a way to get this thing back to work." How? But because I knew God spoke, I decided to embark on that project, and God helped us. We have a total rehabilitation of the church and all of that, and brought it to what level we think it should be. To God be the glory. And then, after that, something has happened which you were aware of. The church now had gotten to the level where you wanted to be. And obviously you felt that it's the time now for you to relax and just stay. That time God said, your time was up. With definite instruction. You can't go back there. You must leave. Humanly speaking, it was tough. It's like you have worked hard now, at least. Let me even enjoy this yet. But God has spoken, and I had no choice. And because of that, I never stepped into that church again, because that's what God told. It was a decision that was tough as a servant of God. But when God speaks, you just obey. So I think that is one major aspect of ministry. Then the second bit, the ministry that God gave to me now, He told me while I was in England, He gave me a picture of what the ministry is supposed to be and the functionalities of the ministry. And it's supposed to be carried. I'm supposed to carry it. So I asked God, I said, you are calling me into a new ministry at the age of 70. How do I want to do it? Because when God told me, I just said, okay, fine, I've heard. And I was going to another church. Because obviously after I left where I was, I didn't want to go to any ministry because obviously it's like there's a big fish. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to go into any ministry that anybody was going to recognize me for nothing. But so as I go to this particular ministry, and I was getting to like the place, and the people were also getting to like me, and they wanted me to be there. Until God reminded me, this is not where I asked you to be. So when I asked God specifically, I said, God, what exactly is this? He said, how can you be calling me into a new ministry at the age of 70? He said, when did I call Abraham? Abraham was called out to leave his father's house at the age of 75. He said, so you are not 75 yet, so start. So it was also a tough decision because one is not getting younger. Ministry is not a joke. You know, so much as far as ministry is concerned, but God says, it's not my ministry, it's His ministry. So whichever we want to do His ministry, my own is to say yes. So those are very strategic decisions I had to take, but again, it was God's calling, and I just had to do it.
I think I completely agree with Nadi when he says that we should not turn the pastors into God and always focus on to be Christ-like. But you know, in Africa, and especially in Nigeria, people tend to be natural followers, and I think because of some of the economic hardship situation in the country, people are always looking for who will sell them hope. And I feel like sometimes religion you can use that situation of people to manipulate and kind of suck them in to just completely rely on their own advice and their own guidance. So I think it's very important for our generation to look deeper into core biblical principles and try and be Christ-like. But in Nigeria today, maybe every 1 kilometer, we can count 10 churches. Do you think it's something that might become a problem in the future? Are there too many churches? Is there a need for some certain level of regulation around who can open a church? I know there are a few countries in Africa now that are looking into criteria for opening churches, locations, and putting certain instruments in place to ensure that there's control. In Nigeria today, it almost seems like somebody has a dream tonight, and he believes that in that dream it was God that was speaking to him. And then the next day they take 5-10 chairs, put it under a canopy somewhere, and they take a megaphone and they begin to preach and start building the congregation. Is it? Would like to know what your opinion is on the number of churches that are springing up and how it possibly can be controlled.
Oh, thank you. There's never going to be too many churches. Because I look at it, even with the level of insecurity and all we have in Nigeria today, if those churches are not there, maybe people not be able to walk on the street. Maybe the country people will be criminals all over the place. Having said that, many are called, few are chosen. Some of these people that are having churches, are they really called? What is their purpose? What is their vision? What is their mission in ministry? And the fact of the matter is that, why I'm not going to go on the side of regulation? Because, you see, any church that is not of God will fizzle out. It doesn't take forever. It will fizzle out. They can do all the magic that looks like a miracle, but somewhere along the line, the truth will be said and it will be fizzled out. But you see, so like I said, the churches are never too many. The vision of some churches is that is to be a walking distance from your house. If that's the vision that God had given to a servant of God, nobody can do anything about that. And how that vision will be sustained later in life is a different thing entirely. What does matter is for the church to do what the purpose of church is all about. To take care of the body, the soul, and the spirit. The early churches, they said they share everything they have in common. There's no one that is lacking. And God is adding to those churches every day. Are we in that dispensation today? Maybe yes or no. No, if the churches are doing what church is all about, then there shouldn't be any problem about how many churches. But you see, like you said, if churches become transactional, it's a matter of you look for something to attract people to church, and everybody, but some of you younger ones, and you run there, it's the in thing in town, it's the new vogue now, and everybody goes there. It could be sustained for some time, but it's not going to be there forever. The Anglican Church, going to their history, they've been there for years. The Catholic Communion, they've been there for years. All the what you call the Orthodox churches, they've been there for years. Some of us will not be in school. I will say it proudly anytime if there was no Anglican Communion. The school that I went to behind our house there, I know the grade I had 1967 was one of the best. The whole of West Africa. I know the grade. I'm not going to say it on television. It was not one big school, but it was Anglican Communion because how much were we paying? The ordinary person can go to school. Can we say that about the schools, some of the schools that have been established by these churches today? No. Some of the best hospitals that existed in those days were made by Catholic, Anglican, Baptist, and also things. Can we say it about what is existing about some of these one that had made it in ministry? No. So you see, it's not the size, it's not the number of churches, but are the churches doing what God has sent them to do? That is why I said in the introduction, I said churches have become very commercial. It's about me and family. Is that what God called churches to be? Why must I ordain a child if I know the child that God has not called him to ministry? Why must I call him? He can do his ministry in another way. Why should ministry become family affair? So you see, that's where the issues are. You know, at my age now, by God's grace, my next age is 77. My prayer is, God, just help us. Because there have been history. Turkey was 98% Christian church, Christian country, hundreds of years ago. Today is 98% the other religion. They built all the big cathedrals. Those cathedrals are now museums and all of that. Why? Because we're busy building cathedrals. We're not building the people. People leave church for God's sake. They put all their money in the basket and then they're looking for a way to get transport to go home. Is that what ministry is all about? So, you see, this is but you see, bringing government regulation is not even the answer. You see, because God, who owns the church, will regulate the church himself. Because you see, God, we thank God, we say, our God is very patient, but he will regulate the church himself. You're just praying that in our own lifetime, we will not have just some of these funny stories where, suddenly churches are just turned into something else. But again, unfortunately, some of those ones that are now called, they can start the church. It's a matter of time. Until you die natural death. And there have been so many. They just start the church, like you said, they have 2 chairs, put it together, collect tithe and offering. It will only be then they move some magical thing, they say it's miracle, they turn the dead to prophet, they do all sorts of things. It's a matter of time. Those ones, their own death is urgent. But for the others, Christ in his own time, he will preach the word. He is the word. He will preach the word. And the Bible says he had compassion on the people. He doesn't want them to go hungry. That's why there's the story of feeding 5,000. There's the story of feeding 4,000. When they say 5,000 men, multiply it by 4. That's about 20,000 people. Mm. So are we doing that now? So I think that's what it is.
I think that leads me to my next question, which is a bit of a sensitive, touchy one around tithes and offering. Today, I know the principle behind it. But it's becoming increasingly difficult when you see some of the flamboyant lifestyle of some of these religious leaders. It's almost at par with traditional rulers. They become a pastor, a mega pastor in a mega church. Everybody is Rolls Royce and private jets, and living very, very luxury lifestyle. And people, I think, especially the younger generation, we're outside, we're hustling for money, and one man just carries a microphone and says, bring 10% of that money that has not done anything. The younger generation would like to know the clear principle behind tithing, and also in what forms can you tithe, and the mindset around it.
You just said it is not sensitive. We make it sensitive. The question I want to ask is that, is tithes, is it biblical? It is. It's in the Word of God. is supposed to be the source of payment for the Levites. The Levites are the people who are servants of God, who walk in the house of God and has no other job than the Levites. For the orphans, take care of the orphans, take care of the widows, and take care of the needy. So, that is what tithe is meant for. If somebody decides to convert tithes to his own personal use, to satisfy his own flamboyant life, is between him and God. What is important, the church I was, and you people grew up there. As a pastor, as a senior pastor, I never asked how much money, even as a senior pastor, was coming to that church. Even though where the collect offering was next to my office when I was a senior pastor. I never asked what was the money being used for, because that was not part of the condition attached to pay tithes. Tithes is a part of obedience to God's principle. Somebody can decide to obey, they can decide not to obey, have a reason not to obey. But if you believe the word of God that speaks about tithes, that the windows of heaven will be opened, that will rebuke the devourer, and that nation shall call you blessed. That is the word that supports it. What have you done? You have paid. It's a deal now. You settle your own deal as far as God is concerned. If you are stretching your neck and saying, "Oh God, now that man is the pastor, what is he using it for?" That is not part of the Bible. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that. It's just unfortunate, my dear. It's unfortunate why, and I don't blame you young ones, why people have become a bit agitated because of the lifestyle of servants of God. That you are a servant of God doesn't mean you should be the poor and everybody is feeling sorry for you. That's not it. But their lifestyle and their extravagant lifestyle has put a lot of people off. So the issue here is, are you fulfilling what God says you should do? And the Bible says, test me in this. So you that is paying tithe, you are testing God. God, okay, let me pay tithe. I am paying, and I'm waiting. If I will not do this, I will not do this, I will not do that. Again, this is why I said the issue of studying the word and taking a decision on the word. Why do we pay tithes? It says, so there will be meat in my house. Meat in my house means in the place where God is being a blessing to you. So you find that is the whole purpose of paying tithes or giving an offering. There have been stories, which is real, which is true, of people that have moved their tithes from 10% to 90% because of the way God had blessed them, because they just felt come. And it's not necessarily I'm taking to church. You can have a foundation, for example, that because if the tithe is meant for say, meet in my house. You are giving something, you are giving offering and tithing. And it's meant for Levites, it's meant for the widows, it's meant for the orphans, it's meant for the needy in the house. And for example, you decided, I satisfy my 10%, I give it to church. And God has blessed me, I'm taking another 10%. And I'm having a soup kitchen. Everybody that are hungry, just come and have a meal a day. You don't need to be some church, whether you're a Muslim, wherever you come from. Just walk into that place, come and have a meal a day. The prayer of such people, these are people that are not sure, a meal a day. Then when some blessings are coming, people start wondering, where is this? Where is it coming from? So you see, but unfortunately, again, like I said, that is why, because of our extravagancy, men of God, and all sorts of things, people get discouraged. And that is why, where God gave me this ministry that He called me to, I told my pastors, I said, listen to me. Nothing stops you from walking. And I told them, you see, you should get to a situation in your life that the money, your own tithe, the tithe that comes from your sweat, it should be bigger than most of these people in church. So you don't come to church and be harassing people. If they pay, they pay. If they don't pay, that's a headache. Because the blessing is not going to come to you, it's going to go to them. So that is why with our own focus in the ministry is that come. They're not getting it yet, but they are getting there gradually. That every pastor, I've been saying that all these years. There's nothing stop for pastors from working. So that you see, by the time we start taking those stress from people, you don't need to do too much of sermon for people to pay tithe. They will pay their tithes because one, the work of God is going on, whether they pay or they don't pay. And their pastors is being paid. And by the time they pull the paper, they know how much their pastors is paid. Even in tithes, they know all the businesses the pastor has established. Then that will encourage them to pay. But that is not the case now. You get all tithes, you convert it, you do business. And that is not it. But you see, why should somebody be an engineer and because you don't go and call you to be a pastor, then you stop being an engineer? Or I'm a doctor. I've never been paid by any ministry I've ever worked. In my years as the way I was only paid once. Our GO said, God said, you should give us some money. And He gave us the money, and I paid, and I saw the money back at even at 5,000. I don't know what it is at that. But all along, God had been helping me to put my own money back to help the ministry. So tithes is not sensitive. It's just that we make it sensitive, and pastors become a bit hostile when they are preaching it, and that brings sensitivity. Because pastors are making alternative money from somewhere. Some of these pastors that are making waves, I can tell you, if we go deep into them, it's not our title. Because essentially, if you have a chain of plane, the fleet of plane, I don't know how much tithe you want to do. If they confess, there are some business they are doing, they may not come out that that's what they are doing. I remember one of these big pastors went for a conference in America, in Oral Roberts, and they were talking about some money that he still has in the bank that has not touched. And one of the big pastors in America, one of the white ones, said, I want to know, is it not the same Bible we are preaching? How are you have some money that you are still keeping, you have not spent, and we are living on mortgage and we are spending. But sincerely, if people want to be, nothing stops a pastor. I don't see, nobody come and told me in the Bible where I say you cannot walk. The greatest of all the apostles was Paul. He was a tent maker and was proud to be a tent maker. And yet he wrote the bulk of the New Testament. So I think that's it.
Final question of the role the church has played. Are they doing enough in our country today, Nigeria, in terms of building the community, speaking to the leaders, to correcting the leaders, speaking the truth, speaking up when is required, being unified, one voice, speaking with one voice on certain things that are going wrong in communities, as a nation, the body, the institution, the Christian institution in the country. How well are they doing, and is there room for improvement?
So you just said something. We are not, you said, unified. We know we don't have a voice because we are not together. Everyone, they are doing their own thing. We should be the way God has blessed the church in Nigeria. We should be in a situation we should say, this is what God is saying. And it doesn't matter whatever religion you belong to, you have no choice. But there's so much of individualism. Everybody is building his own empire. So really, I believe now, at this stage of my life, I'm also an elder as far as the church is concerned. The church is not doing enough. We can do better than what we are doing now. Let's put ourselves where God has placed us, so we can have our voice. We should not compromise our voice. Nobody is listening to us because we just say what we like. And you see, the churches in Nigeria is in a very strategic position today. If only we can just take hold of the opportunity God has given to us, we can spiritually control, because the spiritual control the physical, control what is happening in our nation. But this individualism, everybody to their own thing, talk Igbo here, talk English here, everybody talking English and doing its own thing. At the end of the day, you see, nobody listens to us. And when you become big and suddenly you close door, it's all about you, then nobody's listening to us. And you see, you cannot. And if you are doing church or what is there for me, nobody will listen to us. So you see, and if we are doing church where nobody in our church goes home hungry, the nation will listen to us.
Because you have the numbers.
We have the numbers. If we are doing church, there is a small business person in church is looking for 5,000 to do a business and does not have to go and look for his father's grave paper to go and collect money, there will be the difference. I don't want to talk about, we know what is happening. But you see, this individual building my own empire is what is creating the bulk of the problem. That's where we have the number, we have the people, we have the knowledge. Where we cater for our people, they will be surprised what will happen. And I pray sincerely that, because the time is now. The time is now in Nigeria. Because the Christians are suffering. I tell you, Christians are suffering. Christians are suffering. It's just the faith that is holding a lot of people back there. What are we doing for our people? It's not just go and do all night and pray, and then you come back, the man is still the same thing. So you see, it's not the replication of churches. It's the building of the people. So that I think that is what we need to have a voice. We need to have a voice. God has placed us in a position where we should be able to have a voice. And when we say, or a servant or the person that God has placed on authority over Nigeria will say, please, can you both come in the evening? I say, let me go and ask Papa, what is God saying? They have to come down. I know so many Nicodemus and all sorts of things there that will come in the night. One of these places that people used to run to in the Middle East, they said, oh, they don't go to church, they don't do church. But one of the days I visited the place, was made to understand that the man who developed a desert into a place where it's attracting the whole world, once in a while sent for the men of God there. What is God saying? We have it. This individual thing, this building empire, building all these things, the earlier we stop it, so that we can start building the people. So I can be a Christian and say, come, I'm proud to be a Christian.
Thank you for taking this episode. It's very, very, very informative conversation around father and faith. I've learned so much about fatherhood, tracing all the way back to 40, 50 years ago and comparing it to this new generation. I think our viewers would definitely have one or two things to learn from this conversation. And also the faith element as well, I think is very, 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 very informative. And we're looking forward to having more and more conversation. Thank you, Daddy, so much for joining us on Conversation with Giants. And we look forward to having you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just grateful to God for your life, Tola. What God is making out of you and what God is going to make from you, because every day there's a new version of you that God is bringing out, and I know that God is giving you a voice in your generation, and I pray that I will be alive to witness that voice. Because you are a voice that cannot be silent. So even as you celebrate your birthday, I wish you many, many, many happy returns. It's going to be from one level of prosperity to another, and prosperity that is all encompassing. Is going to be physical, it's going to be spiritual, and it's going to be emotional. So I just thank God for your life, and I pray that God will continue to keep you, and the face of God will continue to shine upon your life. God bless you as you celebrate your birthday. Happy birthday.